Hello and welcome to Talking Tent, a show about movies, TV, and all the content we can possibly consume.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Irma.
Today, we are talking on the TV side, the Ashoka 2-episode premiere, 2 odd documentaries, 1 a limited series, 1 a series coming to an end in Telemarketers and How To with John Wilson. And then on the movie side, we finally got around to watching The Flash. We watched Adam Sandler's latest Jewish extravaganza, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. And finally, the freaking fantastic bottoms that we will get to at the end. And like always, we will start talking about all these things without spoilers, and then we might end up spoiling things, but we'll let you know, especially on the movie side. The TV, there's not that much to spoil. But first, like we do every week, your 2 favorite segments of the podcast, Marital Bliss and Industry Talk. And this was a big one, big week for Marital Bliss. We are currently in the week of Irma. Her birthday was yesterday.
Woo!
So what'd we do?
Well, on my birthday, I went to the gym. And then I came home to dead flowers, which were beautiful.
How rude. They're not dead. They're still right there.
Just kidding. They were lovely. But over the weekend, we went out with some friends, and somehow they all got extremely drunk very fast. I was not expecting
bunch of lightweights.
That. Yeah. No, but we had so much fun. It was great. And then we're still doing stuff.
We went to a nice cocktail bar in Manhattan. Where there was a martini service, fancy drinks, fancy snacks. Then we went to a delicious Caribbean restaurant.
Yes, that was very good.
And chowed down on a lot of things. Jamaican beef patties and jerk wings and such. It was delicious. Then we had some wine. Then we went home. And yeah, Thursday, I'm taking Irma to the newest, hottest, fancy-ass restaurant in our neighborhood. It's a tasting menu, some Japanese person that trained in French cuisine, so kind of a fusion between that. And I'm excited for it. We love, if you've listened to any of our previous episodes, food always comes up, especially movies around food and such and the different shows we watch. But we're big foodies. So I'm pretty excited for that delicious meal.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, and then last night on her actual birthday, both of us worked. Irma went to the gym and the gym. Shout out to Orange Theory. Irma's been loving Orange Theory.
Okay.
Hey, if you want to sponsor us, that would be great. But they had a whole birthday thing for her, they had balloons and a whole happy birthday, Irma. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do that for everyone.
Sure, but they got to double check that it's your birthday and you're coming. So that's a step.
That's true. It was definitely really nice. And then they tried to take a very sweaty picture of me after the workout, and it was kind of awful. And also the way they were holding the phone, they were so low, and so it was just bad angles. Yeah.
Yeah, not flattering.
Not flattering.
Sweating your ass off picture.
And I get very, very sweaty. Some people go out or come out of the class and they barely are I don't know. They're just misted almost. I am drenched.
Do you still taste iron after every
No.
class? So that's good. Every time, because it's a lot of cardio. If nobody knows about Orange Theory, it's a lot of cardio. And every time Irma would do cardio for not recently, but years ago, she'd get that metallic blood taste in her mouth. And if it's not happening, that means you're getting much better at cardio.
That hasn't happened for a long time.
So you're getting good.
Hi, my name's Irma. Nice to meet you.
All right. Used to happen all the time. Don't sass me. But that's it. Wish Irma a happy birthday in the comments. Twitter. Email her. Email us. Talk Intent. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. For Irma. It's her birthday. Industry talk. We got a bunch of industry talk that I just put together. I didn't think we had much. And then boom, boom, boom. Here's all this stuff. 2 quickies. Dune Part 2 is officially delayed.
I'm bummed about this.
Probably the biggest strike consequence. I can't think of the words. The biggest thing to get affected by the strike so far, other than obviously people's way of life and but like completed projects and things that we thought would start getting pushed back. This is the biggest one. It was supposed to come out in November, right?
Yeah, November, December, yeah.
Yeah, now it's March. So I guess they're hoping that everything will be back to normal by then. We had always said January the earliest, and that is still what it's looking like. But we'll see. Other people say September, so we'll see. There might be
No, it can't be September anymore.
Okay, so maybe October, like things push ahead in September so that maybe things get back together. But I've also heard that the producers might be kind of bailing on the writers for now because the writers are being harder, and then they're going to go for the actors first, and then maybe the chips will fall for
negotiations,
the writers. Right, negotiating wise. But yeah, obviously we want people to get what's due to them, and hopefully it works itself out and everybody can be happy. But yeah, Dune Part 2. And then I also just saw when I was looking that up that apparently Denis Villeneuve, there is a script for a Dune Part 3, and there are thoughts of a Dune Part 4. So
wait, I thought like Dune Part 1 and Part 2 were just like the first book.
Yeah,
so wouldn't like the rest be like Dune 2 essentially? You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be parts anymore. Or they're just going to do it like parts.
They still called it Part 3. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe, yeah, I guess to just not like they don't care if you know that the
like where the
second book.
Yeah.
So it'd be like the third part, considering they already started with the parts.
But I guess it's confusing if you're trying to like go to like the book and see like, so it must be the third book.
I sure hope that Dune Part 2 finishes the first book. Because man, if we stop again before the end of the book, I'll freaking drive me up a wall. But
you read it, right?
Yeah, but it was so long ago.
So this is like wool?
Yeah, this is like wool. I did. The only thing I remembered is like an hour and a half into the first movie, realizing where we were going to finish Part 1 and understanding that I could just go to sleep.
Yeah, you were annoyed. I liked it.
That's when the book gets good. It's like boring before that. But so presumably Part 2, when like Zendaya and is in it, and what's his face is like with the Fremen, it should be really cool. We'll see. But yeah, then I assume Part 3 would be, I think the second book is called Children of Dune, or maybe Dune Messiah. That's 2 and 3. I forget which way they're in. So
did you read them all?
No, I have the second one.
I know you love pointing to it.
Yeah, for the visual medium, I turned around and pointed at our bookcase. I don't know where it is, and I kept doing that for Wool too. And I don't have that book. I think I lent it to someone, and it's gone. So we'll see. I had previously said that I was going to rewatch Dune 1 with an open mind and not during Zach tired time, so I can.
That's impossible. You're always tired.
No, it's from 8 to 9:30 every night.
It's not for me. Yet last night you fell asleep at 7.
Okay, so it depends on when we eat. We ate very early last night, but then I was up again until 3. So, it has to be before we eat dinner or after 10 p.m. Whatever. I guess that's weird. I'll just whatever. Also, The Idol was officially canceled. No season 2 for Lily Rose Depp. I think we all saw this coming. It was much maligned.
You're putting yourself in that camp?
No, I'm not saying I didn't. I thought it was better than other people thought it was. I didn't think it was great. I thought there were pieces of it that worked.
Zach, you were singing its praises.
No, I wasn't. I said it was pretty good. But had like obvious flaws. Go listen to all of our episodes.
Yeah, I guess I have to re-listen.
Yeah, you don't even remember what we said. Yeah, it was kind of like I haven't read into any of the negotiations and like who talked to who, because obviously HBO's got to be pretty nice to Sam Levinson. I don't think they would just strip it from him if he really thought there was something there, because Euphoria I think is a huge draw for them, especially for a target market that they are not otherwise hitting.
Yeah.
So I think Euphoria brings in a lot of people that would never put on HBO. So I imagine they kind of came to a mutual understanding that this was not their best work.
Yeah.
Moving on to spend all your time making Euphoria season 3 fantastic. Please, Sam. Thank you. What else we got? We got the box office. We've been tracking the box office lately, and I always think it's interesting. The business side, we like to celebrate movies regardless of if they make money, but it is fun to see good movies making money. So Barbie continues to soar, but has yet to pass Super Mario. And as it's tracking,
it hasn't passed?
No, worldwide at least. As it's tracking, it would need a few more equally strong weeks as it's been getting. And like, obviously it drops a little bit every time. It looks like it's going to make it, but it's still like 17 million behind.
Okay.
So that's like maybe 2 weeks out. Or I mean, it's got legs though. It's going to just keep going. But it is still number 2. It is officially Warner Brothers' highest grossing movie ever, though it passed Harry Potter, the last one, part 2.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's adjusted for inflation. I doubt it. But just, they like to make the headlines.
Yeah.
It's the most money, regardless of inflation. Oppenheimer is creeping up on Guardians 3 to be the 3rd highest. It's at almost 800 million, which is insane. And then, unfortunately, I thought the drop off, if you listened to last week's episode or you watched my short or our YouTube video, we both really liked Blue Beetle. I probably liked him more than Irma, but I was pretty convincing in convincing her that it was like solid. And then especially we're talking about The Flash later. It was better than that. And I thought, based on its score around the 80s and like general positive vibes, that it wouldn't drop off this much in week 2. In fact, I thought maybe it would get lifted, but it didn't. It dropped like 50%.
Ugh.
So now it's at 81-ish million worldwide. So it's not an utter disaster, but superhero wise, it's kind of a disaster. And then after The Flash, there's all talk about how just DC is in free fall.
Yep.
And I don't know. I guess the Blue Beetle isn't the draw. The huge test will be the Superman movie that James Gunn is going to put out in 2 years because Superman has the name. Obviously, Blue Beetle has no name recognition behind it.
No.
And I guess it just couldn't get. But hey, maybe it'll creep around.
Well, August is tough, I think, regardless.
August is very tough. I think the movies have been great, but I guess not as many people go, even though why wouldn't they? It's way too hot to do anything else.
That's true.
So I never really understood why the August dump is a thing, but people are like ramping back up to school. I don't know.
Yeah, I've gotten very busy lately.
Yeah. And then I guess like schools in the South and who knows, they're already like back at school at this point, way back. I was going to say, and then I was looking at like international markets just because I was curious, especially for Blue Beetle, how they were doing in the Latin American market. It seems like Mexico, Brazil is decent, but then the number 1 movie in so many different countries this weekend was still Elemental.
What?
And I don't know if maybe that was like a Disney release thing where like they released it in like Slovakia recently, or I was just looking at all these countries, and I thought that was weird. So yeah, maybe their just release schedule in like the smaller markets is different.
Well, things do get released here first.
Sure. But still, Elemental was like a pretty long time ago.
Okay, I know. Yeah.
And finally, on the industry talk, the Venice Film Festival, the first big festival since
going?
all of the strikes.
Is this a surprise for my birthday?
Wish.
Is this you telling me we're going?
Hey, Venice Film Festival, invite us one day. It's how it starts.
Could go.
I know, but like you want a press pass or you can't get into anything.
Oh.
It starts tomorrow and it's for like the next week and a half, I think. And I was looking at the list and it looks freaking awesome.
It does.
Let me list off some of the movies that are premiering or showing at Venice. The new Yorgos Lanthimos Emma Stone project called Poor Things. I think I saw a trailer for it in one of the movies we went to. There's Adam Driver and Michael Mann's Ferrari is premiering. Bradley Cooper's Maestro is premiering. David Fincher's The Killer with Michael Fassbender is premiering. Harmony Korman's new movie. Apparently it's a hitman movie. He's a super weird filmmaker that did Spring Breakers and Beach Bum most famously. But I like his style. So a hitman movie in his style would be really cool. The Wes Anderson short that people have been buzzing about that I think is coming to Netflix already, but it's playing at Venice. And then finally, Sofia Coppola's Priscilla is premiering at Venice. So we're going to we are going to learn, I'd say those 4, the Poor Things, Ferrari, Maestro, and The Killer and Priscilla. So 5 movies that we're going to get our first like real impressions.
What about Saltburn, Emerald Fennell's new movie? Is that going to be there?
I'm not seeing any news about Saltburn being at Venice. I'm seeing news that it will be at the London Film Festival.
Oh, interesting.
She's British, though, right?
Yes.
Make that up? No, she is. So that makes sense. So lots of big, small movies to get excited about. All right. That was a lot of industry talk. I yammered.
Woo-hoo.
I yammered for so long, Irma.
You love yammering.
Tell me to shut it up. Let's let you yammer. Let's go to TV. And we are going to start with the Ashoka 2 episode premiere. Irma, what'd you think about Ashoka?
So for this show, I'm both intrigued, extremely intrigued, and a little frustrated. I think it's no secret that Ashoka was an animated character, and this is her live action, essentially debut, even though she was in The Mandalorian for an episode, or maybe it was Boba Fett, I can't remember. And so there is a lot of history with this character, starting in the Clone Wars and then Rebels. So there's just a lot of history with this character. I didn't watch those 2 animated series. I don't think you did. So I know that there's just a lot I don't know. And I think this show kind of expects you to know at least a part of it. And that's just like hard for me. Like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to know and what I'm not. Though I do, like, if you tell me Rosario Dawson, what's her face? The green.
I know.
Oh my
Mary
God.
Elizabeth Winstead.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead. If you tell me Rosario Dawson and Mary Elizabeth Winstead are going to be in a TV show together, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, I love them, you know? And it's like about essentially, well, so far about like 3 female characters. I absolutely love the Sabine character. I think she's so fun and cool. At least like that's like the first episode. And then when she cuts her hair and goes into the stoic Mandalorian thing, I'm like, it's not really what I wanted for you, but I guess that's who you are. I don't know.
Well, maybe she'll be a rebellious Mandalorian.
Yeah. I don't know. In general, I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, the whole idea of a galaxy farther and farther away seems kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that opens up the world so much more. Yeah, what do you think about it?
I think you are correct. It expects a lot from us, but then also not so much. I think on the hero side, they did a good job introducing the like 5 main rebels and like kind of how they relate to Ashoka, our star. And we know that Ezra was a big part of this team and is gone.
Yes.
And he is important. So like that is kind of like, okay, that's really all I need.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
I don't need to really know the background of these people. They like hint things. And I'm sure if you watched hours and hours and hours of Rebels, you're like way more attached to these characters, of course. But like, I feel like story-wise, that part was fine. The part that I am butting up against, but I think they'll probably get to it, is on the villain side, on Thrawn, which has Rebels. He has a whole like series of books that people love. If like you're the Star Wars, if you're into Star Wars books, the Thrawn saga books are the best, apparently, books. So there's also a lot of history with him. But so far in the show, all they did was say Thrawn is out there. And for some reason, if we don't find him, it's going to start another war, which is like really, really vague and also massively consequential in a way that we don't really understand. Yeah. Like even like, why would just him being like people finding the Empire finding him start this war? You know, like that part I thought was like, all right, so what exactly are we fighting for? But in theory, whatever.
I do have to say, like, I do like the new, like, they're not Sith, like the
witches.
The 2 bad Jedi.
I think they are Sith.
No, I don't think they are, because their lightsabers are orange, which I thought was kind of cool. So I don't think they're necessarily bad. And also, like, I think with Ahsoka's history, she's not like a part of the Jedi
hers
anymore.
Hers is white.
Yeah, so she's kind of like also in this vague territory. So I kind of like that we're playing with like
a middle ground.
A middle ground, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It looks a lot better than all of the recent
That's true. It looks really good.
Star Wars stuff. Every time I say all of the other stuff, I'm not talking about Andor. Andor is like a separate.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like when I said Batman to the DCU does not count.
Yeah,
it's different. But yeah, looked cool, and we're like actually globe trotting, space trotting, going all over the place. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I wasn't like wowed, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think like it has a lot of potential. So we'll see where it goes.
And now on to two left of center alternative documentaries that maybe it's a coincidence they're such a pairing, but I guess they're both on HBO. So I think HBO knew what they were doing with putting the last season of How To with John Wilson out at the same time as on Sunday nights. They put the 3-part documentary called Telemarketers. And we'll start with Telemarketers. If you haven't watched it, it is a 3-part documentary, which we didn't realize because it ends in pretty abruptly, but we can get to that. But essentially it is this amateur-ish filmmaker. And at this point, I guess he's a professional filmmaker, but he's still got like a very amateur style. And by the end, it's kind of on purpose. But then in the beginning, it's just like, it's very different from any HBO very distributed professional documentary. Because it's like, it's kind of crap. Like in the filming, and just none of the technique you would learn at film school is there. It's just him filming. It was just
very much like a guy who picked up a camcorder and started filming, and he didn't think it was going to be anything.
Right. So the show is created by Sam Lippman Stern. He's the main filmmaker, and by the end, he hires, for like the last episode, which is several years later, he hires a few more people. But from the majority of it, it's basically just him filming this workspace and the people that he knows from it. And it starts as this kid who works at a telemarketing firm that is just an absolute madhouse.
Yes.
And it is drug addicts and ex-cons. And it's just like the most insane working conditions, just people partying and drinking while making the robocalls that you certainly used to get. And now they've advanced way past that. But, you know, people, I'm calling on behalf of blah, blah, blah. Would you give us money for blah, 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 blah. And it progresses to them exposing how the entire thing was a fraud. It was like the police unions mostly using these telemarketing firms to con money out of people, but then the telemarketing firms keeping most of it, and they were lying about where the money was going.
And then just like how over time their tactics started getting even more like what's the word?
Fraudulent,
I guess. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of what like blew them like away, that they were like, how can we say, so I guess eventually the telemarketers start saying that they're actually like police officers and like part of like the police union when they're not. And they're like, how are they allowed to do this? How are they allowed to say this? And I think that's kind of also what triggered in them. And so the guy, I'm sorry, what's his name?
The main guy?
Yeah.
Sam Lippman Stern.
So he befriended a guy, I guess, who was addicted to heroin,
Patrick J. Pespis.
Yes.
An all-time character.
So to me, this was Drunk Uncle. Like, I felt like I was watching an SNL skit with Bobby Moynihan. Like, it was to a T. I don't know if Bobby Moynihan had met this man and based that character off of this Pat Pespis, but it was crazy. And he was really sweet and endearing, I thought, actually.
Yeah, he's the star of the show. There is no show without him. I think Sam, the creator, understood that.
Yes.
He is terrible at journalism. He's terrible at documentary stuff.
Yeah.
He tries to be like a Michael Moore.
But he had a really good heart. And I think,
and he seems like a really good guy that obviously had a lot of troubles in his life. and they just try to get to the bottom of this whole scam
Yeah.
and where the money's actually going and what they're allowed to say. And it gets bigger and bigger, and it takes 20 years. Like, I don't understand what these people were doing other than this whole time. But it's a pretty compelling and damning.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I feel like this didn't really like some things definitely were new to me, but like in general, like I've always known telemarketing was like shit. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I always knew like it was kind of a scam.
Sure.
And like I don't think they were like blowing the lid on that. I mean, yes, the behind the scenes of like the people they hire just manipulating like these people to like essentially do their dirty work, because like what are they going to do? They can't fight back, essentially. At least that's what the telemarketer companies thought. And just like the working conditions and all of that was definitely mind-blowing, but it wasn't, I don't know, I guess it wasn't, I don't know what we got out of this, to be honest.
It was damning, not of the telemarketers. Everybody knows that. And those are the people that got in trouble.
Yeah.
So like the guys that made millions of dollars, well, I mean, they didn't really get in trouble, but they're the ones that are always scapegoated.
Mhm.
And the damning part was that all of these police unions and all of these senators know about it. And they literally could not finish the documentary because they ran up to the literal national wall of people saying, we cannot do anything about this because the police unions and these politicians are too strong.
Yeah.
So hopefully people know about it and will not give money to it. But the reason why, and I mean, full spoilers now, but the reason why it ends so abruptly is because they go, our mission was to expose this. I think at one point they thought their mission was to stop it.
Yeah.
And then he realized there's literally no chance of stopping this because the people that are doing it are too powerful, and that sucks. So all they could do is show these two schmoes trying to expose it, and they did. And then the Safdie brothers hopped in because, you know, these characters were insane, and it perfectly vibes with what we've seen the Safdie brothers make. And hopefully more people watch this, and hopefully these senators that are on it watch it and go, oh, damn, maybe we have to do something about this.
I mean, I doubt
it too.
that will ever happen. But yeah.
I mean, it's gotten worse and worse. They could do a part 2 of this just on like, I got 5 different Google Drive invites yesterday of people like, this person wants to share a file with you. And then that's obviously just like fake, and they want your information.
Well, even when I started my business,
yeah, and that's more official. That's not like phone calls or
I
text
understand.
messages.
Yeah. So like when I started my business, and so I have to file like all of these documents with the state, and I have to pay like a certain amount of money. And then I started getting like these very official looking letters in the mail saying like, in order to like have my like name registered, I'd have to pay this amount of money to this company. And I got this like several times, and like they were all like a little different of where like my money, like where I needed to pay money to. And I was getting really confused, and I was just like, I look online, I'm like, this isn't what it says I need to do. And so I would show Zach, and he'd be like, well, I don't know. And then eventually we realized like, shit, this is just a scam.
Yeah.
Like I almost like did it. Like I think I logged on at least to one of the letters to like see what I had to do, because I was like, maybe I could just pay it online. But thank God I didn't actually end up doing any of that. But it's very confusing, and it takes advantage of people like not knowing like the correct process and stuff like that. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's
and
also
that's like similar with like the police. Like you have a police officer calling your house, like saying, we're fundraising. Yeah. Like, I mean, you want to maybe do your part and give money. You don't expect to be taking advantage of. Yeah, well, just whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's different from like, so what I just said about like the Google Drive invites or like the WhatsApp messages of like, join this fund. That's kind of like identity fraud stuff. So I think that technically is illegal and is kind of prosecutable. But this stuff is like, all they're doing for the company stuff that you just said is like making kind of bullshit licenses, but they're not illegal. It's like you need this license, but you don't actually need this license. And it was just like a piece of paper that you could put up in your office if you wanted to. that is like, they're not stealing from you. You're agreeing to it. If you pay $500, then you're a licensed New York, whatever. But what that means is when she registered with the state of New York, her business account, they sell that information to these companies.
Yeah.
So that's like the exact same thing of like the police unions are working with the telemarketers, and these government is selling your information while we're saying you know Instagram and Facebook shouldn't be selling your information. The government is the only one that knew that she registered this address as the company, and we started getting all this bullshit.
Yeah. Kind of scary.
We're fudged.
You know.
And then on the much more personal,
endearing,
but similar, it's just similar, like very alternative documenting of, you know, normal people. How to with John Wilson on HBO is in its third and final season. And it's just been fantastic.
I love this show.
Yeah, he's gotten like...
I'm so sad it's ending.
Yeah, he's gotten way more personal this year. 100%. I think the draw of the first two seasons was he would start it with a concept and it would grow and he'd find these crazy characters, which he still does.
Yeah.
You know, he still ends up in way weirder places than he starts. That's definitely intentional. But a lot of them this season have been much more introspective rather than just like ending up with a guy that wants to uncircumcise himself from season one. Like that was absurd. But now he's getting to like, how much do we lie about? Like I've been lying about these things was the most recent one. And like, how do we trust anything? And his, you know, depression and the things that he'll just mention about his life and his childhood, I think is really, really awesome. And he's super honest and super earnest.
I know, like, I'm sad because I really don't want this to end. I'm very curious where he's going to go from here, but I'm also kind of scared that like we may never hear from him again in a way.
He's got things. I just read an article.
But like, he does. Okay, good. Well, because I understand,
well,
because
nothing
like
official, but
sometimes like filmmakers like this like just can't find their niche again, you know,
super
like
small, super specific.
And I
what
just
he's
like
doing.
I just want him to keep creating and like maybe he'll put something out on like Freezy and I won't see, you know what I mean? Well, I'm just saying, like you never know, and it's like he just becomes lost, and I don't know. So I definitely want to follow his career and
keep John Wilson on your radar. But it was officially his choice. HBO said, "Do you want to do a fourth season?" He said no.
Yeah, I'm sure
he was done with it, and he's got other ideas of what to do next, which is cool. I'm excited to see if he can do like a full length documentary about something. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. I would love to watch like a full documentary on like and how he does it, because I'm just so curious.
Yeah, you should read this article by Gothamist. One of our friends, colleague, interviewed him. Because I was curious too of like where they get all this footage, how they catalog it, how he gets to all this.
Well, and he's not the only one.
Well, right, not anymore.
Yeah,
he was at one point filming, and before the HBO stuff, he was doing How to with John Wilson just without HBO.
Oh,
and now he has a whole team, so it's like a team of editors, a team of a second unit photographers that just go out in New York and film stuff and all of the weird stuff, and then sometimes they'll get requests for like, I need something XYZ, go find this, but otherwise it's just like madness. And then apparently they meticulously catalog everything, like every name that's on a sign, everything that's happening in the scene, so that he can just search it in this database, which is wild.
That's amazing.
And I wish
though
we had something like that.
Yeah, well,
for some of the work that I've been doing
HBO
on YouTube
behind
and such. Just because I'm always looking for clips of stuff.
Hey, does HBO have a podcast network? They do actually.
Yeah, I don't know. HBO, come sponsor us. Who are we sponsoring? HBO. Who would I say before? Oh, Orange Theory.
Oh yeah, the real highs and the lows.
Yep. But yeah, if you're not watching How to with John Wilson, I don't know what you're doing, but you definitely should. It's 30 minutes on Fridays, and now I think this Friday is the finale.
Oh no!
And apparently it's freaking wild.
Oh, how do you know?
He said it. He said,
your new best friend, the Gothamist.
No. John Wilson said to him.
Oh.
It's like, people might not want any more of this after the finale, so we'll see. I'm excited. He blew up a car in the last episode.
I know. Kind of scary too, yeah.
All right. Moving on to the movies. we finally watched The Flash. I feel like we've talked about The Flash so much on this podcast and had never watched it. It just kind of was a thing. It was in the zeitgeist. It was industry talk. It was the death of DC. It was blah, blah, blah. We watched it. It's on HBO now, so everybody can watch it. It's on Max. I always say HBO. Max. And it was fine. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but also worse in some ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like it was so hard because you hear so many negative things about it.
Yeah, all about perspective.
And then I watch it and I'm like, all right, like I feel like the story in general was there. I thought Michael Keaton was great. I thought Supergirl was really great. I liked her.
She was okay.
Really? I really liked her. And I'm like bummed that we're probably not going to see her again. I guess we could spoil this. It's been out, right? This movie?
Yeah, sure. It's on Max.
Yeah. I just thought like the fact they kill her over and over again was a bit much. So unnecessary. But then I guess we really can't talk about this movie without talking about Ezra Miller. And I just don't think they did the best job, obviously. Like, I was thinking about it, and who's that guy? Not in Wolverine, oh my God, but like in X-Men who's also super fast. And like, I feel like
Quicksilver.
Yeah. But like, who played him most recently?
Kraven the Hunter.
Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, what's his name, right? The British guy. No? Am I wrong? Oh, no.
Mayor of Easttown guy.
Yes. Sorry. Well, wasn't Scarlet Witch's brother was also Quicksilver, right?
Yeah, that was a different. Yeah, I don't think I really loved him as much. Aaron Terrell Johnson.
Yeah. And now they're bringing him back. No, but that's Sony. There he is. Evan Peters.
I
Similar.
feel like obviously I couldn't put Evan Peters in this because Evan Peters is a Marvel guy, I guess now. But like he had
it's a
that
different character.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying like
Yeah.
he had that same
It's
like
similar.
like annoying energy in a way. But like with Evan Peters was able to like pull it off and you still really like him.
Mm-hmm.
With Ezra Miller, like, God, it was way too much. And you said grading while we were watching it. And
It's a
like,
lot.
I was trying to like get on board. I really was. But yeah, it's too much. It was way too much.
Yeah, so the energy that they share with Quicksilver is a hyperactive, which makes sense.
Which makes sense, you know, which is why I was like thinking of who can,
even like a Deadpool. I wouldn't say Deadpool is hyperactive, but like snarky and funny.
Yeah.
But Evan Peters and I mean, especially Ryan Reynolds is just straight up funnier, obviously.
I mean, this movie wasn't funny. I mean,
No.
I had moments.
Yeah, but it
wasn't them.
No, and it wasn't really funny. It tried to be funny in certain visual gags.
Right,
and
the
that
visual
shit
gag
did not work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
thought the running when they weren't actually running was funny.
that part was definitely funny.
Yeah,
actually.
I thought that was funny.
So like there were parts that worked, and even when Barry met other Barry and they were together, some of the parts worked, but then it was just like a lot of two Barrys, two Ezras. One was really annoying. One was way more serious, a little more serious.
But couldn't carry the seriousness, I don't think.
Yeah, so I wrote down that I think this character, at least Ezra Miller's interpretation of it, is much more suited as a side character.
I agree. I fully agree with that.
So to give them their own movie,
but that's what I'm saying. Like if it was Evan Peters, then I think they could have carried it. Like Evan could have carried it.
Yeah, I don't know. Totally different character. I don't know.
Well, I know, but I was just trying to think of like who could have been better in this role.
A lot of people.
And I don't think the movie would have been as bad. I mean, obviously the CGI, we're not getting there yet, but like, yeah.
But then like, I'm also not sure Ezra was that bad. Like, I'm not taking into account any of their off-screen situation.
Outside.
Obviously, that is a whole different story that we're not equipped to talk about at the moment. Just as acting, parts of what Ezra does is really good. It's just like a lot of it. And that's not necessarily their fault. That's like the filmmaking.
I guess.
You know, I don't know. It's a hard thing because it definitely wasn't good. It definitely wasn't awful. But I wrote the same thing as a note that you just said, which you're not, she didn't even look at my notes, but I said, like, I think in theory, the story was there.
Yeah, I think the story was
and they
there.
filled it with so much junk that it lost its sincerity and its seriousness.
Well, also this story has been done before.
Sure. Well, yeah, everything's been done before. So it's all just like execution wise.
Yeah.
But the beginning, and I've said this so many times, 15 minutes into a movie, you can kind of tell what you're getting into. And the first 15 minutes of this movie is awful. And I think it is the worst part of the movie.
See, Ben, I thought did a good job.
I mean, yeah, Ben is fine, but the baby thing was one of the worst sequences.
That was so bizarre. He put a baby in a microwave.
He put a baby in a microwave. Obviously, it wasn't plugged in. It was to prevent it from getting
I understand, but my God.
Babies were falling out of the sky. Scalpels were falling after them. It all looked terrible.
Yeah.
It looked
the
like
CGI was
bad
awful.
CGI. And then the explanation of why we were getting this 20-minute action sequence to open the movie was because Falcone's nephew was fucking around.
It was a robbery, yeah.
What? Like literal nonsense action that meant nothing, just to have a baby gag and show Batman in it, and like just no story. So when I said about Blue Beetle, like story first, The Flash started with absolutely no story.
Yeah.
It took a half an hour to get to the story. And then when it gets to the story, it was like, fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And yes, we've seen all of these things before. So time travel, obviously, we've seen so many times.
I would say like the dead parent to save the time travel to save the dead parent. Yeah.
Or going back in time to solve X problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And that potentially being a bigger problem. And then, like, I don't know, two, it's unfortunately for the movie, or they should have known this and just avoided it, but it kind of just became like a vestigial glob of all of these other movies. So it was obviously, and they reference Back to the Future a lot. It's like that they were fully aware of. It was straight up Marty McFly. But then like the canon events from the Spider-Verse movie, literally just the same thing.
Well, this came out in like the same time.
It's not their fault that they both talked about the same thing, but one did it really well and one did it fine.
Yeah.
And like the multiverse that Marvel has been building to for 5 years, and DC is just like, oh, here it is also. It was kind of funny that Michael Keaton displayed it as a bowl of spaghetti.
I liked that. I like the spaghetti gag.
But it is still just another version of that same exact story. And then finally, and we don't have to harp on this too much, we said the graphics looked bad. The action was bad. The fighting was bad. Again, back to Blue Beetle. I
thought Michael Keaton looked great in the bat costume and then flying around.
Yeah, but that
I
was
liked
just like
that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Took it from the old movies.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Just like the way he looked and
I thought that was cool.
Like this time traveling CGI when he
that was
pulling
so bad.
When he was pulling the earth in and like pulling the scenes. And again, it was all like cartoon CGI. Like it was really bad.
Really bad.
And they could have just used film or just made it like more not as literal. Like you can tell that same story without showing the things that you obviously don't have the technology to show.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. Bringing people back from the dead like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And Zod, like, again, I didn't care about Zod. And he was back and I never liked him. And Michael Shannon, probably the worst thing he's ever done.
I mean, he was probably there on set for like 2 days. Yeah.
But like just bringing him back and then just like nonsense action for a half an hour where they're fighting him and they realize they can't beat him.
Yeah.
And then by the end, and then again, back to the actual story when he has to do what he has to do. And I guess we won't spoil that part, but like that should be and is pretty effective. But after all of the garbage they filled the movie with, an extra like 45, 50 minutes of just nonsense. Like by the end, when we get to that emotional thing, like in theory, that should have really worked on me. And it, like, I felt it, but not really.
Yeah.
I was just so over it by then.
Me too.
So decent, like the bones were there, but they just flubbed it.
They did 100%. I mean, I don't like I actually think like the CGI is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, really bad.
And
when we were talking about Blue Beetle, like it looked the Blue Beetle looked good, and then they kind of didn't mess with anything else.
Yeah, I fully agree. And like I just don't understand like how you could put this movie out looking like that. And all the people that said like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
Right.
Like, do you remember like Tom Cruise and all of that? It's just kind of like, what the fuck? What were you watching?
Yeah.
This looks so bad.
And I just, it made me.
I mean, Nick Cage.
Yeah, but that part, that was kind of funny.
No, I agree. It was funny, but it was also ridiculous.
Yeah. But that like segment was kind of cool. I mean, but so many other things have done that now. But the Nick Cage part was fun because like we've always heard that story that in like the 90s he was supposed to be Superman and never was.
But it looked bad.
Yeah, it looks silly.
Anyway, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter at this point anymore because this is not going to mean anything for the rest of DC.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. Regardless, it was on HBO or it was on Max. We're like, what? Irma, what do you want to watch for your birthday? You have no choice. We're putting on The Flash. Joy.
Ran out of things. Yeah, the only thing that I do that is making me question going forward is, again, this PR stunt that they did that it's the best superhero movie since The Dark Knight. Like, James Gunn said that, and I know he had to support his guys, I guess, but if he is the person that is shepherding this forward, and he said, this movie is done, let's put it out, and it is a masterpiece, that guy is in another planet.
Yeah, but like also he came on like 2 months before this had to go out. I just
maybe he was just doing his best.
I think whatever.
He couldn't say like, wait, who let this baby scene happen?
Yeah,
right? Like, it was already done.
What was he gonna do? Change all of this stuff?
Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll give him the benefit.
I mean,
yes,
he didn't have to say it was the best superhero movie since The Dark Knight. That was a bit much.
I think that killed it, honestly, because then people like.
Yeah,
you had to compare it to that and be like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine at best.
I mean, if Christian Bale was in it as one of the other Superman, sure.
He would never do that.
Well, I know, exactly.
Although I think I saw something about somebody convincing Nolan to make a fourth.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be awesome.
So he'd go back to Warner Brothers?
Oh, good point.
I don't know about that.
Well, now he's got to beat Barbie. And bringing Christian Bale back as Batman might do it.
It might do it.
And then Greta would have to make Barbie too.
No, thank you.
All right. We're moving.
Greta's making what? Narnia now. Kind of bizarre, but okay.
Yeah. I guess we're giving her the benefit of the doubt on that one too.
Yeah.
Weird one. Really weird one. Especially given the background of Narnia, of it being so Catholic and like Christian and religious based. Just seems odd.
And she's doing it for Netflix, so.
Oh.
Right?
I don't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Is Noah involved at all? I mean, other than.
I mean, isn't he a Netflix guy now too? So who knows?
Inevitably, if she's writing something, she's going to bounce ideas off her partner. But
I know, like we do.
Right. All right. The Flash was fine. If you haven't seen it, you don't have to see it. I don't know, like we just don't
waste your time.
Just
it was
like
weird.
If they're bringing any of these characters forward, just like read the plot points.
Google the Nicolas Cage part.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty funny. And then the very, very end.
Yeah, I guess.
Which got spoiled the night before that it was happening. It was like the one thing I didn't know was in the movie. I won't spoil it for you.
Well,
I forget where we were watching that. It said somebody talked about that.
That's so
Must
funny.
have been a YouTube thing.
Yeah, I think it was a YouTube thing. Oh,
it
right.
It might have been the breakdown of the Blue Beetle.
Yeah,
they mentioned how just the last little surprise. Which I'm surprised he did that.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep getting them checks, you billionaire. Oops, I spoiled it. Anyway, let's get Jewish, Irma. We love celebrating the Jews.
No, is that not?
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going. I thought you were going with like the Baruch Atah Adonai, but you were going with the horror. We appreciate it. We're one very Jewish movie and one like Jewish adjacent movie that we'll get to. You are so not invited to my Bat Mitzvah, Adam Sandler's latest Netflix iteration. And I think outside of Hustle, which was much more serious, basically a drama, I think this is his best comedy that he's made from this whole monster Netflix deal.
Well, it's based
and
off of a book.
He's barely in it. Based off of a book by Fiona Rosenblum. And I also looked it up, and she has a follow-up book. So knowing Netflix and knowing that I think this is actually pretty popular right now, I think it's kind of in the zeitgeist, they can easily make a second one.
I bet they probably would,
source
to be
material is
honest.
already there. It's like, the Kissing Booth, they made 3 more.
That's true. I know Netflix, yeah. If it does well, why not?
It's cheap for them.
Yeah. And this is also probably cheap too because it was Adam Sandler's family. It's a Nepo
right, you
movie.
Think they took cuts?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they
Just
already
kidding.
paid him his hundreds of millions of bajillions of dollars. But yeah, so if you don't know, he has his entire family in it. Sonny and Sadie Sandler play his daughters in the movie, and they are his daughters in real life.
Yes.
And then his wife is in the movie, but not as his wife. They decided to go with Idina Menzel as his wife in the movie, and his wife in real life, Jackie Sandler, plays his daughter's best friend's mother for some reason. I guess like maybe she didn't want to be in it as much as Idina needs to be in it. And also, like, if you could get Idina Menzel to be your wife, I guess you just do it.
Yeah, and it's also kind of funny because, like, his daughter's next to his real wife in the movie. It's like, oh, obviously,
Yeah,
this
they look
is
so similar.
You know? But in general, so it's about his youngest daughter
becoming bat mitzvah.
But becoming bat mitzvah. Sorry, I was going to say getting bat mitzvahs, but I don't think that's the correct terminology. And it's her and her best friend, and she likes a boy.
Classic awkward early teens angst.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of the only bat mitzvah movie ever. There have been things that reference bat mitzvahs, but you've seen a bunch of wedding movies, obviously. You've seen a bunch of Sweet 16 movies. You've seen a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Straight up about bat mitzvahs, bar and bat mitzvahs. Pretty fun. Adam Sandler continues his run as Hollywood's best Jew. I stand by that.
Yeah, and I think his youngest daughter did a really good job carrying this movie. I was impressed by her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she did. Yeah, she was great. His oldest daughter, I think she's kind of just there to be there.
Yeah, we don't want to hate on amateur actors.
No, definitely not.
But the older daughter, who I think is like early teens, mid-teens, is definitely hitting the super awkward phase in her life where things become very uncomfortable, I feel like. And her character was it was odd. It was like they put her in too much for some reason.
Just to drop one-liners.
Yeah. The one part where she was sincere about her sister, she did a good job, and that felt honest.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like, her jokes were fine.
Yeah.
But Sunny, the younger daughter, I thought did a really good job for carrying an entire movie. She's in every single shot.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like this was a bad idea, Adam. You should have used X person.
Yeah.
She did a fine job.
And I could see her being in other movies. Like, I could see this being kind of a launching off point for her, especially if this is what she wants to do.
Sure, she's the new Maude Apatow.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Nepo babies. And I mean, do what you got to do. Go in the family business.
Yeah, I thought it did a pretty good job. It wasn't great.
No.
I think we have yet to say whether it was good or not. It was definitely good. I said it was his best movie.
It was fun. It's a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
I mean, just throw it on. Why the hell not?
It did a really good job showing like how awkward and cringy and difficult in quotes, obviously, because real life, there are things in real life that are actually difficult and this stuff is not. But when you're in it, and that's kind of all you know, being a young teen is difficult.
Yeah.
And like, I was very happy that I do not have to go through that anymore. Like trying to be popular, trying to make friends, like try to impress people. Like you grow out of that, or I mean, any new situation is always awkward, but especially as a kid. And I thought they did that really well. Irma sometimes the cringe gets too much for
I
you.
know. I couldn't, some of the cringe. I don't even remember what it was.
It was like when things start going really bad with the video.
Oh, the video.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I couldn't.
Like
I was so pissed, honestly.
Yeah, nobody checked in with anybody.
Yeah.
They just let it happen.
It was so bad.
It reminded, Irma had said this while we were watching it, Bo Burnham's 8th Grade that came out like 5 years ago. Also because he used age appropriate people, much like this movie did. That movie was a little more serious. It's like the indie version of this movie.
Yeah.
And this movie is the Netflix version of this movie. But they're similar. I think 8th Grade is better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I like to see people on Netflix. Lots of people see this stuff and it's about just a nice Jewish family and things work out. It was pretty good. Coming of age. We love a coming of age tale.
Yeah.
And Sarah Sherman was hilarious.
Which one's Sarah Sherman? Oh, right. I forgot she was in this. Yes, she was great. She was really fun.
She
As
definitely carried the comedy.
Hebrew teacher.
Yeah, she's like the rabbi of the temple and the main Hebrew teacher of the Jewish day school. The only thing that was weird to me, and like I had to
speak on it. Let's hear.
Yeah, well, I had to like reorient my mind because my experience as a Jew in school was very much I was an other.
Well, they had a lot. Like everyone in this was essentially Jewish,
so
which
well, so my experience is I was like one of 10, 15 people that were Jewish in my class of 600 plus. And like my Hebrew school, we were like 10 people in a small room under the temple for my grade. And like each year was like that. And this was like, I think it was kind of like a Jewish day school. So like the entire school was just Jewish. And those exist. And there are colleges that are mostly Jewish. I just don't have that experience. So the only way I was able to relate to it was it was more like camp to me, where everybody was at the camp was Jewish. Right. So like the school, I was like, wait, this is like strange that everybody is Jewish and they're like taking school. But that does exist. But for me, it was more like camp. In like all of it. So it brought me back to my coming of age days in camp. And
well, so what was the main girl's name again? Sunny? No, that's
the character.
Yeah.
Stacy.
So her bat mitzvah was New York themed.
Right.
What was yours?
No official theme. The only thing we really themed was like the signing board.
Okay.
So like a little bit of the WWE and a little bit of the Knicks.
Did you have a video package?
No, I did an entrance.
Okay.
That killed. Thank you very much.
With dancers, which they showed. They showed dancers. Did you have a DJ, a cool DJ?
Yes, of course. Not like this though.
Not like this.
These parties were insane. I don't know where they exist. Anybody that's watching this and is 11, 12, 10 years old and Jewish and lives in like LA or New York, huge bar to set. Huge bar for poor parents that are going to be like, no, we cannot make a movie. We cannot make a party like this. It's too extravagant. But I was just reading a thing where most of this was filmed in Toronto, which I didn't realize. I mean,
everything's almost filmed in. It's either Toronto or Atlanta now.
But apparently a bunch of these set designers went to actual bar and bat mitzvahs in Toronto and they were that extravagant. So like some of the ideas, like the person walking on stilts in the circus themed one, they hired that person on stilts from a bat mitzvah that they went to. And we're like, can you also come into our movie? I'm sure they do have
like the Twizzler bar and like chocolate bars. I'm sure that's a thing.
But it's just so extravagant.
Yeah.
So
it's like a mini wedding.
I know.
For children.
Mine was not like that. Thank you very much, Mom and Dad. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But it was like in a catering hall and we had a DJ and some dancers and it was great. Well, you pointed out, though, they didn't do the candle thing at all.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't do it anymore.
I know. I did ask. I was like, when are they going to do the candles?
Maybe people don't do the candles anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And
it's
like
been a while.
Speeches. Because it wasn't really like focused that much on the actual event.
True. Except for they did focus on her Haftorah a bunch and her Torah portion, which was nice.
I know.
Yeah. And then it was like just a nice friendship thing. 13-year-olds being friends.
Yeah.
Classic stuff.
Boys,
don't listen. If you're a 12-year-old or 13-year-old and you're listening to this podcast and you're having troubles with a significant other, prioritize your friends. You're not getting married to that person. Prioritize your friends. Don't stab your friends in the back for a boy or a girl. You know.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah.
Lesson learned. Don't backstab anybody. Don't make trashy videos about people because they might get out.
Yeah, that video, that was tough. That was a tough watch.
It was also very funny. If it as a non-public thing and something you would only share with your closest friends, it was like really endearing. But showing it to an entire school and like an entire party is horrifying.
Yeah.
But like what they showed is like kind of, it's nice that they were just like okay with that stuff as friends.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah. How much did we ruin? So yeah, see it, watch it. Bat Mitzvah.
I have no idea, but yeah, it was great. It's
Great.
Netflix, easy,
Fine.
peasy,
Good.
watch, good
enough.
fine.
Good enough. And now, from good enough to friggin' fantastic. We're closing out. Bottoms came out last week. We saw it on opening day. It is Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett's follow-up to Shiva Baby, which came out, I believe, 2 years ago in 2021. It came out during the pandemic, and it got a lot of press, but obviously they couldn't really celebrate it in the way that they can now, although now they still can't really celebrate it.
That's
because
true.
The second movie came out in the middle of 2 strikes. So Rachel's like, I've seen a few interviews with them that must have been recorded before this.
No, but isn't this like an indie? Some movies are allowed to have press. Yeah.
True. But like they can't go on Fallon, stuff like that.
Of course.
But yeah, you might be right about it being exempt, as they say. But Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett wrote it. It is called Bottoms, and it is so hilarious. We're not going to spoil anything yet, but first to just sell it to you, think Wet Hot American Summer. People have been saying Heathers. That doesn't resonate with me because I've never seen Heathers, but apparently
we're
similar.
a bit young for Heathers.
Jawbreaker, things like that, but just like really weird. I compared it to like a Pen 15 because I was trying to think of more female-led iterations of this. There's not that many, unfortunately, because women haven't been given the opportunity to make things this weird. But now maybe things are changing.
Yeah.
And what's her name? Elizabeth Banks.
Yes.
Must have seen Shiva Baby and said, I like what's going on here. Or maybe I'm giving Elizabeth Banks way too much credit. No. Elizabeth Banks, who was in Wet Hot American Summer, so understands like this really weird sense of humor that I just like could not stop thinking of it and being so giddy and happy that I was watching something on the big screen that was this strange. And it wasn't just on Hulu.
But you keep saying it's strange. And sure, yes, there were definitely things that were like weird about it. But to me, I was never taken out of the movie by the weirdness. Like to me, the main thing.
Well, you have a wonderful sense of humor.
But that's the thing.
I think people will be taken out of it.
So the main thing that like just got me was that it was insanely funny. Like this movie is so funny, witty. It's like extremely of the moment, but also like it's kind of like an homage to movies of the past. Like it kind of is like spoofing high school movies in a weird way, but it's never like it's played completely straight at the same time. I don't know. I think this was just great. I can't wait until this movie is out on VOD or wherever it's going to be so I can watch it again. Because there's like moments in this where I'm like, wait, what happened again? And was that as funny as I thought it was?
It was.
No, I know. But like, I just want to watch it again. And I don't normally have that feeling of like, oh, I can't wait to watch this again. Yeah, it was great.
It was so funny. I declared it, check me out on TikTok. I declared it an instant alt comedy classic. I think it's going to be like, even if it doesn't make the most money now, it's an indie release. It was only at the Lincoln Square Theater for AMC wise. I think it goes wider this week to go to like Kips Bay. And then I think it's in like Alamo Drafthouse and all the smaller theaters. But, it's not a massive release. So maybe it'll expand if it gets enough hype. But again, it's August. But if it doesn't make that much money, I think people will catch this movie eventually and it will find a huge, rabid fan base.
100%.
And like people will be celebrating it. Like I'm comparing it to Wet Hot American Summer, which came out like 20 years ago and still being like, that movie is fantastic. And, like it launched careers of so many people. Paul Rudd was in it, like,
well,
Chris
I think
Maloney.
This movie will launch careers, honestly. Like there's a lot of people in this movie that like, yes, there's like the 2 main girls, like we just know from other things.
Rachel Sennett and Io Debris. Also, I've been saying Io Debrie's name wrong for so long. We talked about her so much in The Bear, and I kept saying, and lots of people say endearing.
Yeah.
It's a Debris. I listened to an interview with her.
Yes. Well,
But-
you're really good about trying to do that.
I don't want to when they're listening to my wonderful reviews, I don't want them to be like, oh, that's not my name.
Yeah.
Because I get, you get pissed off when people say name, or if someone spells my name with a K, that's not my name. Take some time. But yeah, obviously, so Rachel Sennett and Io are kind of already on the rise.
Yes, 100%.
But I think this solidifies, I cannot wait to see what these people do next.
Agreed.
Especially Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett if they make their next movie together. So Io wasn't involved in the writing, although I'm sure some of her lines were kind of made up. But Emma and Rachel wrote it together.
Yeah.
And Emma directed it. And apparently from an interview that I listened to, it was a lot of Rachel Sennett's ideas of her just spitting out hilarious
the comedy,
situations.
yeah.
And then I assume Emma Seligman kind of making it into a movie.
Yeah.
That's my vague understanding of how they work. Although, come on the pod and correct me. But it was so good. But yeah.
No, you can see, just like the other people in the cast. I don't remember all of their names, but Rosie, I want to say, was one of them.
Kaya
Gerber was in this, which is kind of funny because she's already pretty famous.
Yeah, but to be in on the bit.
Yeah, and
just being I'm beautiful and
and the fact that she was able to do this, I was very impressed. I mean, they had, oh my God, the football player. Oh, and one of the girls, she was
Ruby
also
Cruz.
in Willow. What?
Ruby Cruz.
She was the girl who was in Willow.
And Havana Rose Liu.
Yes, Havana Rose Liu.
She was good.
She was great.
Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch, right? That guy, if you don't know.
Miles Fowler, who was the other football player.
Right.
Yeah, they were all really good, and you could just see them launching into other things.
Yeah, skyrocketing from here.
But then obviously beyond the two main women and the creator, whom we celebrate thoroughly, this solidifies that I am now interested in anything Nicholas Galitzine does. Because we talked about Red, White, and Royal Blue,
yes.
I think 2 episodes ago. And I, at one point in passing, because we were talking about the 2 leads, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that the Henry character was a much better actor and the other guy was just hot.
Yeah.
And then I saw him in this movie. I was like, oh, that's him. And he's...
No, I leaned over to you immediately upon seeing him, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Prince Harry. And Henry, whatever. And I don't think you knew what I was talking about.
I did.
Oh, you did.
Because that mole he has.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
oh yeah, that's it. He was so funny and so in on the bit. And the character was the craziest
so over
thing
the top.
I've seen.
Yeah.
He was the stereotypical jock, but not at all.
Yeah.
The gayest stereotypical jock ever. And it was so funny.
It was so
and he
good.
played it so well. And he's fantastic. And he's British.
Yeah.
Right?
And he is actually going to be in a new movie with, oh my God, why can't I ever think of anyone's name? Anne Hathaway. He's going to be in a new movie with Anne Hathaway, which I'm kind of excited about. So it's also based off of a book. I don't know all of the details, but I know it's an older woman falls in love with a Harry Styles pop star.
The Idea of You.
What was that?
So we're talking about The Idea of You?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, right. Directed by Michael Showalter. Again, Wet Hot American Summer.
Exactly. So I think that's going to be another really great movie for him, especially with Anne Hathaway. I think his star is also on the rise. And so I'm really excited.
Yeah, really interesting to understand where he goes. Because these movies could not be more different.
But I love that he can do it all.
Yeah. So will he, I feel once you leave the terrible romance movies, you kind of don't go, you graduate from it.
Yeah.
And you become more prestigious.
Yeah.
But apparently he's pretty well known in those things.
Yeah.
He's obviously really good at it. But yeah, apparently he can also be hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you had go see Bottoms in theaters, hopefully with a crowd, I would say go in a cool neighborhood. So even though we love our AMC and the Lincoln Square Theater was fairly full, but if you could go in Williamsburg, because people will just, it's that. There's just a vibe to it that, no offense, some people just won't get.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things that are very much on the nose. I mean, it is meant to be a feminist, comedy. It's about two girls who essentially start a quote unquote fight club to get girls.
Yeah.
Like they have major crushes on the cheerleaders and they start this fight club to get them to fall for them.
Yep. It's great.
You know?
Like just one thing that's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but just like at one point to get these two girls to go to the principal's office, the principal gets on the intercom and says, "Can the ugly lesbians please come to the principal's office?" And like everybody knows they're talking about the two leads.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so
and like a running gag is like, "Oh, we're gay and untalented." You know, like you have to be gay and talented in order to matter. And it's just like just a very funny joke that like runs through it. And I don't know.
Yeah, well, because like in lots of movies, there has been wonderful representation of like gay characters,
of course,
but they're usually fantastic and like just like really talented at sing. They can all sing, or whatever. And like these are just two normal ass girls.
Yeah,
they dress them down for sure. It's just great. Go see it.
Yeah,
it's what did I say? I think I got to look at my list, and we're gonna have our awards. Our second trimester awards are coming out this week. We got to figure that out. Sure.
We're not going to do a normal pod next week.
But I think this is top 3 movie of the year for me with Barbie and Oppenheimer. I got to look back.
No, I have to really look.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't hit the Oscar movies yet, so who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Really. It was fantastic. I think it's the funniest movie of the year. Barbie, I don't know. Barbie is like a whole different thing.
Yeah. Different.
But just like straight up hilarious. Cackling. I was cackling at Barbie too. 1 and 2. I don't know. I'm waffling here. Top 3 though. So good. I can't wait to see what they do next. Apparently she's taking a little break. Like there's nothing in the can for Emma Seligman.
Yeah. Well, she said she wants to make an action movie next. So we'll see.
Everybody's saying that the Rocka guys want to make an action movie too after.
Oh, they should do it together.
Oh my God, that would be really funny because her like funny sensibilities and they're like off the wall. That would be funny. I'm gonna
love a good action movie. Put me in an action movie. I can kick some butt.
Yeah.
Or I could be made to look like I can kick some butt.
Yeah, there was that really weird run of a lot of comedy action movies, like when Pineapple Express. And then there's just like a bunch.
Well, I think like that's pretty normal. Like, doesn't like the movies and even like superhero movies, like they go through trends. Like right now, it's like the multiverse and like,
I think we're
you know what I mean?
That.
Like, I'm just saying, like it's like movies go through trends and everything like that. Like it's kind of a normal thing.
What did I just
like romantic comedies are starting to come back? I think like they kind of fell out and now they're coming back. I don't know. So I think it's kind of exciting. And now I think comic book movies are kind of becoming off trend. I mean, I think they're still going to make them, obviously, but you know.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was just thinking of like Blue Beetle not doing so well, even though we liked it. I think DC fumbled in every way, and now they're just too late. Because like even the Marvel stuff, although Guardians still did really well, but the not thirds and not sequels, I think have all, for Marvel standards, been lowered and lowered and lowered.
100%. I don't think Marvel is doing all that great. Yeah. I mean, I think it started really with the Eternals, and then ever since then, it's kind of like...
the shows, like people are absolutely destroying, whatchamacallit, Secret Invasion. And then like DC is just coming in with a relaunch. That's just way too late.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're trying to, like, because Batman, I think it always can sell.
Yeah, Batman will always work.
Yeah.
How we talked about how Barbie is going to spawn.
I know, exactly. So that's going to be a new thing. Yeah. The toys.
Yeah. Maybe not even the toys, but then I was looking up Bo Burnham and what he's got next, because like he put out basically the de facto piece of art from the pandemic and that like Inside special he did.
Right. That was great.
And then obviously we just referenced 8th Grade, and he didn't write or start, but there's a Sesame Street movie coming out with Anne Hathaway. Speaking of Anne Hathaway, and Bo Burnham, but it is like the guy that's doing it is this weird comedy director that was a writer for SNL, but did Portlandia and that weird Fred Armisen Moon movie. So it's like giving these like kind of odd sensibility people these huge
platforms.
but like IPs,
do
something interesting with. So I'm okay with this guy making a Sesame Street movie. Could be cool. And that's supposed to come out next year. We'll see what happens. Obviously, everything's up in the air.
Weird movies.
I love weird movies. Love them. I think that's it. Next week, we have...
Well, Friday, we'll have our Excitometer.
Yeah, I'll try and put out... Well, we have the Excitometer, as always, for September. And I don't even know what to expect anymore because I don't know what people are going to put out. And obviously, like all this Venice stuff is coming out, but when are they actually going to release it?
Yeah.
But like in theory, the Oscar contenders should really start ramping up now. But I have no idea what they're going to do with these strikes.
I mean, I don't think Killers of the Flower Moon is going anywhere. Maestro,
I
it sounds like they're still putting it out. So I think there's definitely going to still be movies, you know.
And TV, I think there's a decent back catalog of keep chugging along. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to get into reality shows. Now they're doing a Love Island Games.
Absolutely not. You can watch that. I
cannot wait for Love Island Games.
We'll have a spinoff. Irma talks reality romance.
Yeah.
Talkin' reality romance. And then, as I mentioned, we have to do our second trimester awards. And
we'll put that out next week.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to our first trimester awards from April. You know, that's just the timing of it. Most people do quarters or halves or fullies. We do 3 times a year awards. And these are bangers. This is like top of the year.
Wait till we get to the end of the year. Those will all be bangers.
I'm pretty sure 3 of my top 5 movies of the year came out within the last calendar month.
Okay.
I'm saying it.
You just did.
I just did. It's on record. Hello, are you on? And that's it.
All right. Well, thank you to Craig for the production assistance, and thank you to John Welsh for our intro and outro music.
Subscribe. If you're still listening, A, thank you. B, subscribe.
Get a life.
And follow us on all the socials. Talkin' Tent without the G on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Tell everyone you know. I need to get to 1,000 followers, and I'm very far off of that on TikTok. So
what's 1,000 followers mean?
That's like where the monetization limit starts.
Oh,
it's a lot. And YouTube is a whole thing also. Anyway, tell everybody you know. The best podcast reviewers, best minds in movies and TV. Your lovely couple, Irma and Zach. Thank you very much. So from our living room to yours, what do you want to watch?
Bye.